welcome to the African Tech Roundup, episode 117. Now, this is where we round up the most important tech, digital, and innovation highlights from across the African continent. My name is Andile Masubu, and I'm excited to have Musa Kalenga back in his co-host seat. How's my favorite Zambian doing?
Your favorite?
Yeah, dog. I'm sorry. Shout out to Zubs. Shout out to Chilu. Shout out to the rest of my Zambian homies. But man, the co-host is back in the building. How you doing, Musa?
I'm fantastic, man. And among names like Zubs and Chilu, I'm even better. Yeah.
Imagine. Lulu Hangala, I see you, sister.
But this is the favorite. Thank you. I'm happy. I'm back, and it's been a good start to the year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2018. It's gonna be magic.
Fantastic, man. The past week has been incredible for you, man.
Jeez, a lot going on, huh?
Pretty important agency buy-in. You and Karabo Songo just closed.
Yeah,
I couldn't be more pleased for you, bro.
Yeah, well, we have to drive the change. You know, we sit here and we talk about owning narratives, owning agendas, trying to change things. So we actually have to do stuff.
So what's it called, man? Tell the people.
Yeah, so we through an investment vehicle bought a minority stake at the moment in an agency called House of Brave.
Yeah, something like 24.1%.
25.1%.
25.1%.
We're hoping to rack up that investment over the next couple of months, but also trying to drive change within the creative industry. There's a lot of transformation challenges. There's a lot of structural challenges. There's a lot of kind of big issues in the creative space, and I think agencies have to transform. So we bought into a space where we think we can drive such an agenda, but also be very kind of pivotal in creating the future of what we think a new agency or a creative entity is all about. Yeah. So that's what my job is. I've got a fancy title as a Chief Future Officer.
Yes, now CFO. And Karabo, of course, shout out to Karabo Songo. Yeah. He's the new CEO. So you guys are essentially board members now.
Correct.
Shaping the future of this company. Absolutely. I'm happy to say that I rate House of Brave quite highly. I've worked in some of their campaigns as a talent, and yeah, man. That's now it's in good hands. I have no doubt, man.
Yeah, no, we've had a good time. So I mean, also shout out to them. I think it's a big thing for agency owners to realize that they need a change, and obviously the MAC Charter is putting a big stick and a lot of pressure on the others. But shout out to the founding team, Rob, Vanessa, and Andrew. So let's do big things, as Karabo says.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, here's what you can look forward to, folks, in this installment of the show. Well, wait, we nearly forgot our manners. We have a guest in the building. Yeah, a warm welcome to you, Anim van Wyk.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That's awesome.
Cool, man. Bringing some pretty dope female energy to the studio. I'm embarrassed to say we don't have enough incredible women, and that's not because they aren't out there. It's just we need to do a better job of getting you guys in here.
Well, you've had a good start.
Yes, it's a good start. Nice one. Touche. A warm welcome to you. Anim, of course, is the editor at Africa Check. They're an organization which, they claim to be Africa's first independent fact-checking organization. Now, is that a fact, Anim?
It is a fact, yeah.
Okay.
You learn as a fact checker to carefully structure your claims, so that it is accurate, but also to pull a punch.
For sure. And if it's true, ride that into the sunset, not into the sunset, really ride it into the dawn, because it's definitely something to be proud of. And Anim is here to chat to us about the rise of fake news and some other very interesting, pertinent issues that are impacting every single African on the continent. Can't wait to speak to you about that, Anim. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
For sure. But before we get to all of that, of course, we're going to be going through some of the past months' bigger highlights in terms of happenings in Africa's emerging tech and innovation scene. But first, this episode of the African Tech Roundup is brought to you by the Africa Tech Summit Kigali. It's happening in Rwanda on the 14th and 15th of February 2018. We'll definitely be there, so can't wait to meet you there. The conference is, of course, supported by Rwanda's Ministry for ICT, and it promises to offer useful insights and top-drawer networking and business opportunities for local and international tech leaders and investors who want to drive growth on the continent. Now, we're quite pleased to be one of the event's media partners. We're looking forward to having you join us in taking in a host of keynotes, breakout sessions, and networking events, which will explore the latest tech and innovation trends and help you connect with over 250 tech and innovation ecosystem players from across the continent and beyond. So this is what you need to do. Head straight to africatechsummit.com. Book yourself a seat. I'm afraid the early bird special is over, but tickets still available. That's africatechsummit.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the dope list of speakers booked to attend. It really should be a great time. And I suppose it's worth mentioning that some of us are planning to catch some drinks at the Marriott Kigali's Iriba Bar between around 4:30 and 6 p.m. on the day before the event, the 13th of February. So that's the day before the conference happens. If you're in Kigali early and you want to hang out and just chill, bring your own money. Yeah, to bring your own money and bring the vibe was a bunch of us will be catching. I'm only totally serious as I say that, but yes, we'd love to see you there and hang out before everything gets started the next day.
Andile,
yo,
having drinks, you're gonna hang out.
Yeah.
Are you actually speaking at the conference?
Oh, well, no. Well, kinda. Well, I'm moderating. So, yes, I'm actually facilitating 2 panels. I look forward to that. We'll definitely be taking tons of interviews. So I'm not keynoting or anything posh like that, but I'll definitely be on stage in, I believe, a mobility panel and another panel to do with, the rise of new media and content on the continent. So I'm really looking forward to that, looking forward to learning a lot. Yeah.
Very cool.
You're not coming. I wish you were.
Yeah, I'm not coming this time around, but I'm pretty sure next time I should be there.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah, holding hands.
So listen, we're going to jump into some of the highlights that sort of stood out to us in the last month or so. Things have come up. Again, guys, I know we love hearing from you. So let us know what stands out to you. Hit us up on Twitter at African Roundup or, on facebook.com/African Tech Roundup, or drop us an email or voice note via email using hello@africantechroundup.com. The reason I'm saying this is a lot of you say, oh, you missed this, you missed that. This was really important. I wish you guys had covered that. And we do listen to you. And there's some things in this week's lineup that some of you suggested and felt that were definitely worth talking to. We love that. So keep those tweets, posts, emails, voice notes coming. But without further ado, let's jump in. Guess who's a billionaire?
Somebody
Zimbabwean. A certain Strive Masiwa has just turned billionaire. Actually, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, he officially became a billionaire, as it happens. Actually, in the same week, Jeff Bezos became the world's richest man. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Absolutely.
do you think?
He's worth $1.7 billion is the number. And it's quite amazing. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff and he's come through the Econet group and he's been able to compete in many different industries, including financial services, insurance, e-commerce, you name it. This guy's doing the thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's really impressive. And at the same time, I'm quite inspired by it because we always speak about, on the show, being able to build organizations, create industries, create value chains, and he's really doing the thing. So shout out to Strive and shout out to everything that they're trying to get done.
Yeah. Also quite famous for being the very first sort of mobile operator in Nigeria. Nigeria.
And also in
Zim. I can't remember if he came first, but certainly in Nigeria.
Okay.
I think was Econet first. Telecel might have been first.
It might be fake news. So
it might be fake news. Watch it there, bro.
We just disclaiming.
Of course, Anim, anything you want to do. I mean, in this segment, if you want to jump in, if we hit a highlight or a discussion point that you're interested in jumping in, please feel free. Yeah.
I think we'll need to fact check that. Yeah. Who was first in Nigeria?
Who was first in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I am happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but he from what I understand, he took up the very first mobile telco license that came up, and he later left the country for reasons he's publicized. He basically corruption, he couldn't handle it, and he wasn't willing to work on that basis, and a lot of people respect him for that. But yeah, listen, if you're listening out there, certainly I know Anim's team is probably all over this as they're listening, going. So if we're wrong about any of these facts, trust me, you'll hear about it in the next episode. So yeah, what else happened? America's president Trump doesn't think much of people from the developing world, particularly Africa. I think. Sure. I think he calls us for. He's basically legitimized a very nasty term that I personally don't like to use. It's unfortunate that our kids are going to grow up with like the world's most powerful political figure, sort of making it okay to say things like S-hole. But what I found fascinating about this is the fact that we're in an interesting time where what happens online is starting to have not even starting. It doesn't even take long for things that happen online or things that spread online or disseminated online to have real world impact. Just ask the shop managers at H&M around the country in South Africa. Those stores got trashed off the back of people going, "This is rubbish. If you're going to be in our country, we're not going to take it."
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me to see how the line, I suppose, Arab Spring started like it in a massive way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me how even social issues are starting to sort of resonate in the real world in ways we've never seen before.
I think technology's done a few interesting things because I suppose historically downtrodden or historically disadvantaged individuals didn't have platforms to rally on the same level that they can rally now.
Yeah.
And that rallying, when it happens online, tends to express itself in quite an exaggerated way in real life, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at what happened with H&M, whether or not you believe it was the right or the wrong thing for EFF to do what they did, essentially they were taking a standpoint around this notion that casual racism is something that can just fly. On top of that, obviously casual racism coming from an organization that is not even a South African business. Their standpoint was extreme, and I think I posted online that at some point the person that you've been abusing will turn on you, and when they turn on you, it's not going. You can't dictate the terms in which they'll turn on you.
And I suppose people listening who are not familiar with the case, H&M, one of the world's biggest fast fashion brands, basically put out an ad campaign that depicted a little boy with a T-shirt on that said, that
a little black boy.
Yeah. It turns out he's a monkey, according to the T-shirt.
No, it's the coolest monkey in the
jungle.
So there's jungle. We've got fact checker here. I'm just like
we've got coolest monkey, jungle, all in the same sentence. Black boy in the picture in Africa. It was just quite a thing. And of course, people all over the world, of course. And then it didn't help that his parents, when asked, like, where were you? Of course, were in fact in the room when the boy's, picture was being taken for this campaign.
Yeah.
And they hit back against everyone saying, mind your own business. We know what we're doing. We don't, storm in a teacup. But it's just fascinating to see how that played out. Anim, I know you've got like an extensive career in various forms of journalistic expression, as it were, in different media environments, Tell me what you make of this quote unquote democratization of media that we're seeing today, where people are actively participating, sometimes constructively, other times not. And also the impact it's having on real life, in the case of South Africa, a political party basically trashing shops.
Well, I tend to take an optimistic view, and for me, it's very positive that people, and especially around the continent, on Instagram, you can follow, various accounts that show you, the side of Africa that you don't regularly see, the fashion, the cities, the tech, so it's out there. And I've seen also after the SL comments, how many people in my circles, but also beyond, who pushed back and said, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't experienced this. And so for people out there, especially that don't know Africa, there are so many avenues in. And also our website, being able to, from the continent, to set right inaccuracies, or, even in that comment, like, SL countries like Haiti and Africa. Countries like Africa.
Africa's not a country, homie. You're Trump.
Get
it right, buddy.
It's one of our most popular fact checks or reports we've ever done, is like, how many countries in Africa? And it's not that straightforward, actually. If you look at African Union memberships versus UN membership, it varies between 54 and 50. Well, 54 members of the AU and 54. No, it's now, I think, 55 with Morocco.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So it depends who you ask, and, who's legitimately allowed to decide how many countries Africa has.
Yeah, but it's not.
Clarify.
People think it's like, Africa can't decide how many countries there are, but it's not unusual. Like in Europe, there are also, strives, Catalonia, regions that want to have autonomy, that want to be counted as a country. So
Scotland, nearly a country.
Quarter to countryhood.
Nearly a country, but they decided not to be. But quite an interesting take. Also, given your experience in the field.
I saw an interesting WhatsApp, a video that came through. So it's a Nigerian guy, right? It's like a selfie video vibe, and he's talking about the statement, and he starts out pretty interestingly. So he says, I heard the statement that was made by President Trump, and unfortunately I agree with him.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what I did. So I thought, okay, let me listen to this thing. And he goes, I come from Nigeria, and I'm unfortunately living in the US at the moment. But if you look at the corruption that's happening in Nigeria, and he categorically goes through a number of things, and he says, unfortunately, Nigerians and my Nigerian counterparts, please acknowledge that we are coming from an S-hole country. And then he takes a turn. He goes, however, we still have a responsibility to get back to our S-hole country and to fix it, because if it's not going to be us, and he goes on a whole tirade to say, if we're not going to be the ones driving the change in corruption, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he pretty much, flips the argument on its head. And I thought to myself, wow, that's an interesting view, because once again, back to the argument that Africa is not a country, I think there's very specific countries that may, share in the fact that they don't have the most wonderful or the most perfect conditions economically or otherwise. But you can't shake the fact that it's nobody else's responsibility but ours to fix that.
Yeah.
But B, there are other countries that may not feel that way at all about their country, right? So I think it was quite interesting. But I also find it disheartening that, as I said, we've spoken about it a number of times, that Trump and his frame of reference, and that he can go on platforms and that can actually become truth, and I think that's what we'll get to at some point.
Because we're going to discuss this. Really, I'm glad you brought it up, because I want us to talk about that later when we discuss this idea of agenda setting and how really narratives promoted and broadcast constantly by people with the power to set agenda,
or even carelessly,
but still, it does speak to like people who have the power to do so.
Yeah.
So whether we're talking about a massive US celebrity who's more followed than anyone on earth, and how, crippling something they say in a moment of sort of jest can impact a whole country or an economy, or whether we're talking about Trump or we're talking about a gentleman like you're mentioning who frankly has, some level of power and agency, because he's able to express himself, he's able to put himself online, he's able to reach the WhatsApp feed of someone like Musa Kalenga. You know what I mean? That's some significant power that we don't really think about in today's modern age. And in many ways, those of us who are early adopters to, or quite active participants of this new digital age, are more empowered than anyone in our past has ever been before. And the question is, how do we start to discuss who has the right to set agenda, and how do we police that right if we must, or how do we teach people how to wield it with responsibility, and that kind of thing. So I really wanted to talk about this in a little bit, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, and then maybe just to close that thought, because as you were talking, it just came to me that, because obviously it's a double-edged sword. But at the same time, if you think about, the story that broke relating to the coolest monkey in the jungle, if I remember correctly, it was actually broken by The Weeknd, the rapper in the US. And obviously, coming from the point of view that he's probably got a lot of followers, he was able to bring attention or shine a light on something that ultimately, if you look at the ripple effect, has led to H&M almost, have they closed, or are they planning to close? There's rumors that
there's rumors that there's certain places where they might close. Sure. They've apologized. Frankly, I don't think that's going to happen. I think in a year, also given just the volume of content that comes online in this space, or even just stuff in general,
it'll disappear.
I think it'll disappear. I think they'll recover.
But from a tweet, right?
From a tweet,
From a tweet that The Weeknd sent based on the fact that he's got however many followers on Twitter. So it's interesting. So that's a direct correlation.
People listening to you are going, "Who's The Weeknd? He's a very popular American musician. The kids dig him. Your kids are listening to him. Maybe they shouldn't be listening to him, but he's a big deal. I think, of African origin.
Yes.
But he's definitely a Canadian artist, actually. Canadian. I think it's Canadian. Yeah.
Fact check.
But let's fact check. Oh my word. I mean, you're making us nervous. All right. So let's talk about how the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the world's #1 producer of cobalt, is looking to at least double mining taxes for that mineral. Over a year ago, we made quite a stink about the extent to which big mobile manufacturers like Samsung and Apple were turning a blind eye to the human rights violations that are happening in some of the mining activities, not just in the DRC, but in other developing parts of the world where cobalt is mined. DRC is light years ahead of other countries in the world that mine the mineral. And conditions in that country for that mineral are really, really, really dire. from what I understand, because of, Amnesty International and efforts by other organizations such as them, there's a little more attention or a spotlight being placed on, the rights of minors, and certainly trying to ensure that you don't have underage minors in that space. But interesting to see the government going, okay, we're on to you. We're going to raise royalties. Yeah, what do you think, Anim? Are you hopeful that these resources will be channeled to make things better, create better conditions?
Well, yeah, if it goes towards increasing safety and environmental, responsibility, then I'm all for it. But sadly, the history there in that region has shown that more often than not, it goes into a back pocket. So let's hope that, with the scrutiny that you're talking about, that it will lead to good change.
Yeah. And I remember being on the show and saying to everybody, it's all well and good for us to be in, to raise righteous indignation around on this issue, but Musa and I both have MacBooks on our laps, and you've got a phone in yours, a Samsung in yours, and we're all. This is our problem, and we're all sort of contributing to it, if we're honest.
Don't touch us on our tablets.
Don't touch us on our tablets. Yeah, exactly.
But the tablets.
But so I mean, this is more than just about what the DRC decides to do. This is more than just about what Apple or Samsung decides to do. This is about what we will tolerate as world citizens, African citizens. And I think this is an important issue to flag. I certainly believe that Africa is constantly shortchanged in terms of the benefit the rest of the world gets from our raw materials. And so I would never look at this and go, don't do it. I mean, in terms of like raising the taxes, I'm like, do it. But I certainly hope that you're moving the needle for the continent in ways that weren't possible before the extra sort of revenue was being raked in.
What about a kind of a H&M campaign, but a cobalt one, and we get the weekend in, and change things.
Except the weekend was I think he was a brand ambassador for H&M at some point. So I think. It would require a big name brand to sort of stand in for but it could be any one of the number of celebrities that promote Apple or Samsung.
Exactly.
We don't like what's in your phones. What are you doing about it? You're so right, Anim. I hadn't thought of that though.
Yeah, it's a very different take on the problem. But yes, that's using the power of technology to be able to change
and celebrity,
absolutely,
and online and scaling a conversation. And moving on, Cape Town is going to be the world's first major city to run out of water, so it seems. Just over 3 months left. Day zero, as they're calling it, is set for April 12th. Do you guys know what needs to happen for D-Day to be averted? Could there be enough rain between now and then, do you think?
No. It's a winter rainfall region. So, but I think Pastor Mboro said that he's going to pray. He's going to make it rain.
You're going to make it rain. Okay.
I think
I believe in prayer.
Times.
It's just Pastor Mboro is problematic. But Pastor Mboro is I don't even. So there are people listening to this. Most of our listeners, of course, are abroad. So they're thinking, who on earth is that? I think it's fair to say he's a dodgy spiritual leader, if we can even call him.
Google him.
Yep. Google Pastor Mboro if you must.
Is it MB? Or is it MBO?
I think it's MBO. Pastor Mboro. So he claims he's going to do something about making sure that, day zero doesn't happen. You're in Cape Town soon.
I am. I also saw
your own water.
Pack my own stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be supporting an entrepreneur there, Ludwig Marishani, who's got the dry bath, right? And I think this is such an amazing opportunity for a person like him, right? So there's a few responses commercially that have been created out of this challenge. The first is that there is actually technology available in South Africa that essentially is able to convert atmospheric pressure into water. The challenge is that the politics that you need to deal with to get that to commercial scalable use in communities is big. The second thing is to be very practical about responding to it. As I said, there's a great entrepreneur, South African, who's patented technologies where you can use a dry bath, essentially. So you don't have to use water to kind of bath yourself. So
I hear kids all over the world going, get me some of that. Like varsity students going, bring it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna unfortunately, not even selfishly, I'm openly punt him because I think...
worth punting.
Good on him. But I also found a very interesting narrative. I mean, one of my colleagues was on Facebook going, "Geez, I come from Kwatwa, and we've had day zero since I remember I was born. So what's this whole thing about?" Which brings into play just this other, alternative view on the fact that we're panicking because it happens to affect white suburban Cape Town. Why has this day zero concept become such a thing when it's been
there've been communities going with little or no water supply to their areas for decades.
Correct.
And it hasn't really trended on Twitter.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you just look at the body count in terms of people affected, it's probably chalk and cheese, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting kind of string of thought coming out of this whole day zero thing.
To sort of link what you're saying with something else I heard at another water cooler, is this notion that, of course, Cape Town is the capital of DA, which is the Democratic Alliance, of course, has its own country in the Western Cape, and so that's their capital city and their pride and joy. And as it turns out, they haven't run it nearly as well as they could have, and that's pretty embarrassing. And right now, some are suggesting that the infighting that's trying to push the DA mayor, Patricia de Lille, out of power is sort of like the sacrificial offering to pacify at a water altar. To pacify the thirsty masses. So it is interesting, like the politics of it, right?
Yeah.
This idea that Cape Town, easily the urban jewel of the continent. At least let's talk the city
tourism
bowl.
Jewel.
The tourism jewel,
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the city bowl and the winelands. Let's pretend like the townships don't exist. But let's no, it's only most of the
off with his head.
only most of the population lives in the townships, but let's pretend they're not here. So we're really proud of Cape Town as a continent, as a country. Yeah. But the politics of this water situation, fascinating, right? Yeah. And can I just mention that we recently had a guest on the show, Bert Bruggeman of Gefira Solutions from Silicon Valley. He's a hardware specialist. He's worked with the biggest companies, Silicon Valley companies, and smaller ones too. And it's interesting. He pointed out that he's fascinated whenever he visits the continent how little focus there is on building solutions, practical solutions to boring problems like, oh, hang on, we might not have water by the 12th of April. Like,
and not a new problem.
Not a new problem.
Was it fake news that I saw a clip going around? Someone took a picture of a news article that essentially said they've known this for like 17 years or something along those lines.
I saw that as well, but we didn't look into it. But I mean, it's obvious that South Africa is a dry country. Yeah. Its population is growing. Yes. So it's not something that if you run out of water today that you can, bring on a dam, by next week. Yeah. It's something that takes a lot of forward planning. Right. So
it's like the ESCOM thing, right? It's like the ESCOM thing where people were like, leadership in ESCOM, South Africa's power parastatal, they were told. Yeah. They've known for decades that we were going to hit a certain snag, i.e. population growth, and they didn't work towards demand.
So to be fair to the DA, I mean, their response has been atrocious, but there's the the Department of Water and Sanitation also had to come to the party and, plan and build dams or desalination plants. But I think what you touch on is maybe there should be also a democratization of these kind of, power supply and water supply so that we're more self-sufficient. And I would have hoped that government would, when the ESCOM crisis was happening, they subsidized like solar geysers and gas stoves and all that. Yeah. And I'd love to get a subsidy for like a JoJo tank and to help me collect grey water. And even like there's actually like the World Toilet Challenge that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation sponsors. And you have to build a toilet that runs on less than 50 cents a day. That's not connected to any, water supply or power supply or sewer supply. So there's amazing prototypes that are coming out of that. And maybe can't I be subsidized to have one of those? Like,
I was going to say, are we funding, and perhaps this is happening, are we funding startup activity in this space? Are we incentivizing the smartest young engineers, developers, inventors, as you say, to come up with solutions to some of the more boring problems. And I say boring, I say that tongue in cheek, obviously.
Yeah, but it's
because I mean, apps are great. You know, we could use another Facebook.
No.
Psych. But do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that the financial focus is definitely generally on the sexy stuff because it follows the agenda of, you know, can I get great headlines out of, you know, my involvement? But yes, I mean, we had that conversation where we did definitely say there is a need to refocus innovation, to refocus technology, but the challenge is that someone needs to buy into it authentically. You know, I really think it's not a short-term play. I think a lot of the problems that need to be solved, you know, if someone has got vision and someone has got a little bit of a balance sheet, we can actually drive huge change. But it takes dedication. It takes a bit of persistence. So which
speaks to some of the things I said in last week's episode, that we might actually be promoting a culture of teaching entrepreneurs and the youth who are like joining the startup ecosystem, that if something's not going to sort of blow up in like a year and scale at a certain massive hockey stick rate, it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like these problems we're talking about can be approached any other way, frankly. It could be 7 years of your life before you get to the toilet, to a toilet like all of us would readily buy in the suburbs. You know what I mean? It could be. And the question is, are we engendering that in our sort of entrepreneurial culture? I don't think so, if I'm honest. I don't think so.
Yeah, but it also, I mean, it has to be, we can't expect and turn to government every time to solve these kind of problems. There also needs to be...
Because clearly they won't. It doesn't... And clearly it's becoming quite clear that, granted, I mean, I'm not trying to sort of, you know, be nasty to whichever party or, you know, ruling or otherwise, but clearly they won't. I mean, they're actually paralyzed or imprisoned by the very system that they participate in. And I mean, whether the DA argues that it's the ruling party and the department that didn't do what they were supposed to do, or the DA, in fact, was far more clueless than some people hoped they would be, you know, it just comes down to the fact that it didn't get done. And it's getting really embarrassing. And to your point, that's probably the only reason why it's trending, because it's embarrassing the type of people who frankly have a lot of time and energy to tweet.
Absolutely.
Rough. But hey, let's move on. Let's talk about some of this is easily one of the things I've been most excited about over the last month.
Tell us why.
With you, listen, flying between African cities, guys. So my wife and I, we're going to be at Afrobytes Paris. So, you know, get your tickets now. It's in June. Head to afrobytes.com. We'll be in Paris for that. On our way there, we'll be in Amsterdam for, you know, we're hosting a meetup there. More to follow on that. But that's not the point. Guess where we really wanted to go afterwards on holiday? We wanted to go to Morocco and Tunis. And we're going to need, so we're going to visit Paris, Marseille. Then we're going to, the plan is to hit Marrakesh, Casablanca, and then Tunis, and maybe something else. But it's turning out cheaper to fly back to Paris and then back to South Africa.
Crazy.
Than it is to fly direct from, say, Marrakesh or Tunis.
It's crazy, yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
Right? So, and this is true for pretty much most of North Africa. And it's definitely true for a lot of Central and West Africa. It's kind of changing somewhat for East Africa because of the volume of travel. But guys, I mean, this is unacceptable. Yeah, it's unacceptable. It's shocking. And so 23 African states, including South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya, have launched a single aviation market. The aim is to, you know, make connectivity improve between African countries, reduce fares, stimulate economic growth on the continent. This is just 3 decades after this idea was first pitched at the African Union. So this is the first phase. They're rolling out what they're calling the single African air transport market. And yeah, most people in the industry that I've seen, you know, views come up from in the media, whether it's airline brands or sort of, you know, Brand SA and people like that, they're all going, oh my word, this is going to be life-changing. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's fantastic. We've recently been in exactly the same situation, trying to plan a holiday and travel. It's just staggering. I mean, you know, you just think to yourself, in this day and age, is it really this difficult to move from one place in Africa to the other? And
by the way, I didn't tell you that Joburg to Paris, Joburg to Amsterdam. Sure, come on, easy peasy, dude. Cheapest, cheapy, easy. So you're not happening. We're basically taking our hard-earned rands, kwachas, I almost said Zim dollars. That's not a thing anymore. But we're literally investing in the tourism economies of the world's wealthiest countries.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's insane.
We were invited, Africa Check, to speak at an event in the Cape Verde.
Cape Verde.
Yes.
Off the coast of west coast of Africa.
And in the end, I had to ask our guy in London to go because I was looking at flights from Nigeria, I was looking at flights from Kenya, I was looking at flights from South Africa, and it would have taken us 24 hours to get there. Sure. So in the end, and lucky for Alphonse, he got to go, but it was just like logistically it would have been impossible or very difficult.
That's insane.
That's a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah. That's got to change. So I'll be watching for these flight tickets to change. Shout out to you, African Union. Things move slow over there in Addis Ababa, but, at the headquarters of the AU. But thank you for moving this particular issue. I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
And so moving on to some VC news. There's been a lot of moving and shaking, lots of I wouldn't say interesting announcements, tons of announcements. Everyone's coming to the continent. Everyone's opening an office. When I say everyone, of course, I don't mean everyone, but you get the point. It's like, it's getting really popular to say we're moving to Nairobi, we're moving to Cape Town, we're moving to Joburg, we're moving to Lagos. We're doing VC differently. Partech Ventures, however, they're a transatlantic venture capital outfit. The reason I'm interested in what they're talking about is because, one, they're moving to Dakar, Senegal, which is different.
Oh, really?
They're moving into French-speaking Africa. They're headquartering in French-speaking Africa, which is interesting.
Yeah.
They already have offices in San Francisco, Paris, and Berlin. And according to Tijane Dem, who's their general partner at Partech Africa, they already do around 70 deals around the world, and they're looking to participate or invest in opportunities that require funding to the tune of $600,000 minimum, and anything up to about $6 million.
Wow!
So these are ticket prices that I like to hear, because it signals
significance.
Yeah, significance and intent, like real intent. Yeah. As to whether they'll actually manage, whether the pipeline can sustain those kind of deals, that's another matter. But I like the attitude that we know this is the level of action we can get here, and we want to play at this level, and don't come here with your peanuts and your startup competitions and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're bringing us real deals. And your what?
And your incubators.
And your incubators and stuff. And I say that with respect. Some of you, are friends of ours, and we dig what you do. Many of you, we just don't rate. Let's be honest.
I mean, I think that's a great move. I mean, when I was still working at the blue business, I realized.
What's up? Was it Facebook? What's up? Was it Facebook? No, joking. Okay.
I realized that there was such an amazing opportunity if you looked at stats and data relating to how Francophone Africa were coming online and the things that they were doing, and the ratio of products and services that were being provided to them was super, super low. So I think it's a very clever strategic thing to do, because I think they're probably the most underserviced market, but they are hungry for solutions, for innovation, for whatever it is. So I think good on them, and kudos. That'll be a really good one to watch.
And I suppose while we're on the topic, Disrupt Africa put out a list of what they consider to be the most active VCs on the continent, presumably in terms of the size of the deals they've been involved with through 2017. So on that list, you've got the likes of Greatcraft Partners, 500 startups, Action, I think that's how you say it, ACCION, Algebra Ventures, finally an African outfit. That's the Egyptian outfit based in Cairo. Y Combinator, of course, on that list. Calon Venture Partners, South Africa's very own. Ventures platform. Shout out to Abuja, the Abuja-based form, rounding out that list. So 3 out of that, out of the 7 listed there, being homegrown venture capital outfits. We can do better. And look, welcome to the party, Partech Ventures. If you're here to add value, we welcome you. But we'll be watching to see what you do. Perhaps you make Disrupt Africa's list at end of the year. We'll see. But again, we like to track value. And in terms of the signals, the sends, in terms of the announcement and the intent this suggests, we like what we're hearing. And all the best to you out there in...
Please go and say hello to our colleagues in Senegal.
Oh, yeah. You guys have people there.
We were there first, yeah.
Yes, look at you. AfricaCheck.org. Look at you.
Ahead of the curve.
Look at you. So, no. Yeah, definitely. Francophone Africa has got a lot to offer. Central, and I'm talking Francophone Africa, countries in West and Central Africa, I think, definitely overlooked for far too long. We're going to wade through all the sort of cryptocurrency excitement and hype that's been going on to bring you quite an interesting story around a recent ICO, an African ICO. Sure Remit, you might recall in December, announced that they'll be trying to raise via an initial coin offering. Sure Remit, if you're not aware, is a non-cash remittance platform. They're majority owned by the Nigeria-based fintech holding company Greenhouse Capital, which is in turn part of the Venture Garden Group. So, yeah, they succeeded. They raised $7 million, guys.
Look at that.
So I saw the sort of the paper, outlining the offer.
Yeah.
It was very posh.
So basically they allow immigrants all over the world to remit tokens, right?
Yes.
To purchase like digital vouchers?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Sure Remit, basically what they do is basically allow you anywhere in the world. They target African diasporans, obviously. They partner with suppliers on the continent, retailers on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
You pay in the UK or wherever you are,
mm-hmm.
and your family can pick up goods at like their local game or the local Shell garage, Jumia or via Jumia or the local spa, that kind of thing. So it's a very clever idea, and they've significantly brought down the cost of a remittance by doing that, and they've got all those amazing great partners, and so that's the business model that's backing this initial coin offering. They're like, listen, we have a working ecosystem, and we want to grow this. We don't want to do this the way everyone does. And look, there's 7 million in for all the stuff people say about why this is a problematic and potentially bubble causing endeavor. This whole ICO thing. This is interesting. I'm kind of glad they got this right.
I'm interested in the business model, zero cost, non-cash remittances. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll be set right very quickly this coming week because I'm speaking to the CEO of Venture Partners, of Venture Garden, about this whole ICO thing with me. I'm staying away from this whole vibe, and I don't know whether that makes me old-fashioned.
Yes, it does.
But it does, right? But this is interesting to me.
Vintage.
And it makes me vintage, yeah. I'm aging well, hopefully. No, but I like the idea that there's a nice, beautiful, clean-cut African success story in this space. I like that. Mm. But I'm not into the vibe. I'm not into the scene.
I've got a meeting with a crypto miner after this.
Nice.
That's how in the scene I'm at.
The only reason I even have is it like 1,000 or 2,000 rands worth of Bitcoin is because of you and because you went, oh, well, I'm doing it. Let me try it out. And I know, Musa's not trading and the stuff. He's not, but he's definitely dabbling seriously.
Yeah.
What do you think of this whole thing?
I think I need to get some more information and research. I've actually wanted to commission like a fact sheet and just to break it down for people and explain what they need to know.
But if they lose their life savings, they'll be coming for you, eh?
Yeah.
Based on your advice or your assessment of it.
Our tagline is that we provide you with accurate information to better inform your decisions.
Okay.
So, I mean, the decision is yours, but we just want to make sure you base it on accurate information.
That's true. And I suppose you do not want to be getting this wrong.
No.
Easily one of the biggest digital economic issues of our times. You certainly want to put your best people on this. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So I'll be speaking to Venture Garden CEO Bunmi Akinyemiju. I'll be speaking to him next week, and we'll be putting out that conversation in the coming weeks. So look out for that, and you should definitely tune in. And so yeah, probably the last thing we'll touch on before we do like a quick run of like some international items, even though Trump kind of made it into our Africa section. I feel bad about that. But anyway, Iono. Yep. You guys might know Iono.fm because some of you are listening to this podcast via that very platform. Now, the reason they've made it into our news segment is because we're a little miffed with them, a little bit. That's because when they first started out, to be what's now easily one of the continent's largest sort of podcast repositories, their sale to me, this is almost quote unquote, was come, everything's free. For the foreseeable future, it'll be free. We'll give you, limited analytics. And for sure, every month we get like basic analytic information from them. But yeah, host with us, leave SoundCloud, and it'll be great. And you'll do you well. Our little widget's great everywhere. And I have to be honest, we've enjoyed a great service and it's all been free. But I got an email the other day from their COO. And yeah, they've got paid options now that we're basically forced into if we are to continue to enjoy that service. If you've got more than 50 clips of content, basically in another 3 months' time, you'll be disabled or you'll be unable to basically operate on that platform. And that's not what I was sold at the beginning. So I'm not angry that they're turning on, monetization. Every startup must at some point. I am aware that this is not the only way they monetize. I was not sufficiently informed as an relatively early adopter to their platform. We were not informed. And yeah, I suppose they got just over $200,000 of angel funding in 2016, in a round led by Clifftop Colony. Their runway is probably running out at this point and they need to turn things on. I get it. Okay. So this is not me trying to be a bummer. That I do think that they should have managed letting us know about what their roadmap would look like a little better.
Sure.
And I'm so glad that our primary publishing platform at African Tech Roundup is SoundCloud. So frankly, we could turn off everything that's going on at Ayono. It would inconvenience us because people pull that RSS feed from other places and stuff. We would take a knock in the short term, but frankly, we don't need them nearly as much as probably don't need us as much as, either. But the fact is, I'm sitting here because my expectations weren't managed well. And, moral of the story, beware of the freemium offer. Am I making too much of this, do you think?
No, I think they should reward loyalty, and you were an early adopter.
Yeah.
So at least, I think they should allow you. They need to sell now membership models, but they should keep their promise or their sales pitch to you.
Yeah, because I did have like telephonic conversations with their salespeople when we first came on. It was like, come on board. You guys have a great product. We might help you monetize that. They do partner on campaigns that bring advertisers to you in exchange for a percentage of your ad revenue and stuff like that. And I thought, this is great. If you guys are able to do that, great, no problem. Let's do that. And yes, our backend is really easy to use. We'll use you. Don't go with Stitcher. Don't go with SoundCloud. Come with us. But so far I have to say SoundCloud service has knocked the pants off them. And to be fair, they're just a much bigger company, and we've just enjoyed working with them as well. But we've worked with both, is my point. We've supported and backed their hustle. I have no gripe with the level of service we've received. It's just, again, you're right. I mean, it's just maybe because I can't possibly be the only one. We can't possibly be the only ones a little miffed about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you reward loyalty, you would now tell people, sign up for this. It's cost this much, but it's really worth it.
Absolutely.
Going forward, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
And maybe, and you wouldn't be saying on your show that we're the freemium model, but
because that's the moral, guys. There are lots of startups out there coming at you with ideas, and I suppose startup founders listening to us, like this is a moral to you too. Right now, it feels like you can sort of just promise everyone the world and it won't matter. And you turn the corner and you suddenly you're under sort of financial pressure. You need to change a model or pivot or whatever. And you don't really think it's going to affect people who frankly have been your champions. You didn't realize it. You need to sort of be proactive about what your roadmap looks like and sort of communicating that adequately. I mean, if we'd been told, for example, that we're 1 or 2, maybe even 3 or 4 years away from charging you for this service, I definitely would have made a different decision.
It's interesting because we had this conversation. So one of the businesses that I run is called Clock, and Clock's got 800 teachers that use the platform. And
Clock Education, Clock.education. I don't mind punting it. You guys are dope.
All right, so one of the things we actually had as a consideration is typically a teacher is not necessarily ever going to be the one that's going to pay for it. But the 800 that have signed up are always going to be able to access the platform for free, right? And it was around the same kind of notion that it'd be just not nice, all of a sudden you log in one day and you can't teach geography. That's not cool.
Or only 3 of your courses are available. The other 80, you gotta pay.
And you were early adopter and you believed.
And you told your friends.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. But
and your content is like links to your content's all over the internet now.
Correct.
Now you're like, gotcha.
Yeah, no, it's not cool. Not cool. But note to startup founders.
Note to startup founders, guys. Yeah. So, okay, this is going to be a quick fire, guys. Your thoughts on some international news items that we can go through really quickly. Uber's biggest investor, the Japanese, financial monster that is SoftBank. They're Uber's biggest investor, and they basically want Uber to leave their least lucrative markets right now, which really, frankly, comes down to India and wherever they are in Africa. Just leave. They're like, we want you to concentrate on where you're making money and of course SoftBank also owns, don't forget that they've got investments in Uber's rivals like India's Ola and China's Didi. So they were rumored involved in the sort of machinations that ended up forcing Uber out of China and relinquishing to Didi and that kind of thing. What do you guys make of that? Come now. We Ubered here. Musa and I, we Uber all the time. Yeah. What do you think?
Maybe it's the opportunity for an African, a ride-hailing service because I must say I'll really miss the convenience of last year in Lagos, just whipping out my phone and getting an Uber and not having to get currency. And so, if we can still have some kind of cross-border solution, that'd be amazing.
And not Taxify, strangely, right? No one ever says, I Taxified here. They might have, but they never say that.
It doesn't quite roll off the tongue.
It doesn't roll off the tongue as well. But also, I mean, I've said this on the show before, I only use them if I'm coming to a show like this and I want to be in a good mood for our guest, I want to make this a good show. And I know I'll pay slightly less on Taxify, but if I need to be there in a rush and I want to make sure the driver's not gonna need me to navigate us all the way, is gonna have airtime or data to make sure they can navigate and that kind of thing. Let's just say I'm not gonna choose Taxify. But if I'm feeling like saving for an ice cream cone at the end of my trip, and I'm, no pressure, and maybe it's the weekend and I'm with my wife and I don't really notice what's going on when they're back together, and I'm like, okay, then maybe Taxify. But I think it's interesting that at the end of the day, like, we must never forget that these companies are not run or based on altruistic motives.
No,
all right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to say that they are then by default evil companies like out to sort of milk the world and take advantage of us. But let's just remember, guys, Uber exists to maximize shareholder investment.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That is that's their primary. They're here to help you get from A to B. They're here to make it convenient for you to land in any country and a lot of countries on the continent, EU, and the world, and get around with ease. They exist for that purpose, but primarily they exist to make the likes of SoftBank very wealthy.
Absolutely.
But then they also need to remember it, because I really I get angry when I open Slack and they give me some kind of message and it's like, your friends at Slack. No, you're not my friend.
No, you're not my homies.
Yeah.
You're not my homies.
Please, let's just keep this relationship boundary clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or when you get like Mark Zuckerberg coming here and going, we need to. No, we don't. There's no we. There's Facebook over there. Facebook, you and Facebook, and the billions you make.
We care about your memories. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Want to increase my time on the app.
Yes, you want to make my you want to ruin my marriage so that I'm here all the time. You basically want me swiping left every day.
You guys are
so I get you. I love that. It's so true, Anim. So brand managers for these places, I'm so glad Musa is no longer there. We can really take the mick. So, I mean, we're only a month deep in 2018 and I've already encountered 3 questionable pieces of content that are doing the rounds of social media. The ones I found quite the most sort of concerning or disturbing, I got via WhatsApp. And the reason you're here, Anim, is to, help us determine how serious this fake news problem is on the continent and sort of help us work out like which platforms are the most susceptible or the most rife with this problem. And I reckon before we dive into that, it might be fun to give people a sense of how things work at Africa Check, africacheck.org. You should check them out. You've got some myths that you've busted recently that I think everyone should check out. I thought I'll just pick a few that stood out to me, and then you can sort of, respond as to, where you're at in terms of that. Here's one. There's apparently no evidence that a child is kidnapped every 30 seconds in South Africa.
That was also, I think it originated from WhatsApp, but then somebody posted it to Facebook. 3,000 shares later, lots of panicked parents, we got onto it, and the police record a child being reported missing about every 10 hours. But most of those kids are found fairly quickly, so no data backs it up. There aren't a million kids, being kidnapped every year.
How many
that's what it works out
How
to.
many? A million?
More than a million.
More than a million.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd be in sort of population regression.
Yeah. Hashtag bring back our kids.
Bring back our kids, exactly.
Yeah, that's true, because there's only about 900 or less than a million kids born every year.
So yeah, we would very quickly be not here anymore as a sort of country. Okay, so then here's a question you guys you sort of attempted to answer. Did at least 50,000 Nigerians die from terrorism in 2017?
That was a critic of the government that said that. He said, the official numbers are suspect and we can't believe them, and it's that much. But as you can imagine, recording those kind of things is tricky, and it depends on how you define terrorism. Mm-hmm. So, and especially now with the Fulani herdsmen and those kind of clashes, when does it cross the board, the line from, just being a criminal act to a terrorist act? Mm-hmm. But still, the worst year on record for any country to lose people to terrorism was in Iraq, and they lost 10,000 people. So for this to be true, given all the caveats, it's very, very unlikely. And most of the records show that it's around 7,000 people, which is absolutely tragic.
Yeah. It's still sad. We understand. So we're not trying to minimize that loss and the value of life in any way. But we would need an Iraq scale loss of life times 5, for this number to be true.
Yeah, and it doesn't help, the search for solutions. That's why we do what we do. Yeah, so that people.
You're not here to embarrass people or to be like, don't listen to him or whatever.
No,
it's just, I suppose it's important that we don't let bad information impact our decision making.
And our solutions
and our solution gathering. Okay, so one or two more, and then we have to get in. So this is fun. I love this. So Julius Malema, the head of the Economic Freedom Fighters,
and new master's student at Wits.
Sorry,
he's enrolled for a master's degree at the University of the Witwatersrand.
So he's also my VAS teammate. I can now call Julius Malema my VAS teammate. We're not in the same faculty, so I guess I won't be spotting him anytime soon. But so he said education and jobs belong in the same WhatsApp group. So really what he was saying is that he was claiming that only about 5% of graduates are unemployed.
We checked that out. Stats SA produces the quarterly labor force survey, and the latest one available is for the third quarter of 2017. And that showed that amongst graduates, the unemployment rate is 5.4%. So we rated it correct. So they do belong in the same.
So this guy's been okay. If you don't know Julius Malema, Google him. We're not going to go into him, but I mean, he amuses me and fascinates me to no end. I mean, he recently graduated with a degree. I think it was last year, wasn't he? Because he's been such an important part of our political scenery here in South Africa. And when I say important, I don't necessarily mean in terms of my support of him or anything like that. I just mean he's just been a key player, a key actor. And he took such vitriol from people who just wouldn't listen to him and thought he was not a voice worth listening to, partly because you've never been to varsity. Who are you? And he was like, well, maybe I will then. And he is getting a master's degree from
the EF is really championing higher education. I mean, Seni Ndlozi, he got his doctorate last year, and they were all there and their regalia and supporting him. So I'm very excited.
It's exciting.
They kind of make education sexy,
Yes, and that's what he does. I think he makes caring about issues sexy. I don't always agree with his methods or even some of the statements he makes, but I think the sort of level of conscientiousness the average citizen has towards like matters to do with civic matters. I think the EFF has done a lot to make that a cool thing. Nevertheless, one more, and hand washing 101, Dettol's disease busting claims under the microscope. Just how likely are you to avoid diarrhea or the flu by regularly washing your hands? And how big a toll does diarrhea take among the very young? So Dettol obviously wanting us to believe that if you don't have them in your cupboards, y'all are gonna die of diarrhea. Flu's gonna happen every year.
Listeriosis.
Listeriosis is gonna be your fate. Food poisoning, everything. So what do you guys reckon?
So I mean, hand washing does help.
Yeah.
But to put a
I think
percentage
we've known that
to
for a while. Thank you for the reminder.
But not the kind of like, just opening the tap, splashing your hands under it for 2 seconds and then going. You really, the kind of hand washing that makes a difference is like 20 seconds of like properly scrubbing your hands. And it's very difficult to quantify that, to say like, because they said it's 59%, it reduces the death toll. So, I mean, it depends on the setting. It depends on the country. Wow,
death toll. Like seriously, the leap from, this is good for your wounds and like sanitizing your hands or adding to your bath water or your floor bucket, to like, we are saving lives. We are reducing the loss of life by like this massive.
Yeah, well, I mean, hand washing is an important aspect of hygiene.
No, but Dettol's positioning as.
Yeah, well,
I get you, but I get you. Not to be unfair to them, but this is what they want us to feel or think, I'm sure.
They were correct about saying that more children die per day due to diarrhea than from AIDS, malaria, and measles combined.
Okay, yeah. I just think it's a little cheeky to sort of infer, therefore, that, and of course they are part of the solution.
It's a marketing thing, yeah.
But obviously you can't just wash with anything.
You must wash with Dettol. Just soap won't work.
So the take-home message is wash your hands and be careful of the freemium model.
Exactly. So I want us to take a listen to. I want everyone to take a listen to this. It's a WhatsApp clip I received from someone I trust recently. Someone I actually rate. So. I just got this out of the blue. No sort of preamble, nothing. This just landed on my phone. Take a listen.
Okay, here's the thing. You're not gonna believe this because it's something that usually happens in the movies. Sorry, I've got hiccups. It happens in the movies. Where there's a breakout of some disease. And the government is like, no, don't tell the people yet. And they contain it. The government sits on it. So today I had a passenger of mine who's been a passenger of mine for many years. She's a doctor for many years, and she has worked for the government for many years also. She begged me, she pleaded with me, and then she was telling me that I'm telling you this because I care of you, and please, even if you tell your family or your friends or your loved ones, do not reveal my name. There's a disease out there. The government is containing it. It's not telling people about it. It's in South Africa. It's called listeriosis. I will send you the name so that you can Google it yourself. It has killed over 640 people. This woman was showing me classified government, documents on my flight today. And she was saying to me, please, even if you tell your family, you tell your friends, you tell your loved ones, please don't mention my name because I can lose my job over this. The disease is called listeriosis. So she was saying to me, listen, I'm not even a vegetarian, but please tell your family and your loved ones to stay away from chicken. So if you've got chicken in your fridge right now, please throw it away. Throw it away because it's gonna kill you. Don't buy chicken leg, don't buy KFC, whatever that is chicken. Even from restaurants, even if you sit in there, you wanna order food, do not buy chicken. Stay away from chicken. And the other thing is fruits. Also fruits. If you want to eat fruits, that's okay. But if you are used to just washing fruits for like, 10 seconds and then you eat it, she said for fruit, you're going to have to wash it and wash it and wash it. Just wash your fruits like so many times, more than you are used to wash that fruit. Whichever fruit you want to eat, just wash it properly, more than you are used to. The government is containing this. It's killing people, over 640 people. This is serious. This is from a very reliable source.
For those of you who aren't aware, the South Africa is going through an outbreak. It's an outbreak. There's been an outbreak of listeriosis, which is, of course, really a bad stomach flu, right?
Yeah, it's a foodborne disease caused by bacteria. We also did a fact check. It is the worst documented outbreak in global that we know of.
Yes, but this person is saying that there are people the government is intentionally keeping quarantined or even preventing us from knowing about. Like, this is on like serious conspiracy level stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is from someone I rate, and I say to him, dude, like, this sounds crazy. Who's this? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. I was like, why are you sending me this? Because I trust you. So I'm thinking you're sending me this as a heads up. You understand?
Yeah.
And if I hadn't asked him to clarify, or I literally would have added that subconsciously to something I believe.
Yeah.
You know? So I suppose the question then is, how bad is this problem, Anim?
It's difficult to to say when it comes to WhatsApp, because it's encrypted, it's a closed messaging app. So we can't track it like a Facebook post or a tweet, and you can see how many people it's reached. So there are loads of rumors and myths and conspiracies that are floating around on WhatsApp, and the way we try to surface them is by asking people to send it to us, because we have a WhatsApp line, and the number is...
Oh, yes. This is key, because this is pretty much the only way you can debunk this, because of the
if we don't know about it,
if you don't know about
difficult.
it, you can't help.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's +27 for South Africa, 73 749 7875. So
one more time.
+27 73 749 7875.
And we're going to promote this on our social as well, and in the show notes as well. So
so hit us up, because if we don't receive it from a crazy uncle, or the WhatsApp neighborhood group,
or someone you trust, like me, like literally, this is a dude I'm like irate. I'm like, come now, bro.
Yeah.
Like, but he should have at least said to me, homie, I just got this. This is crazy. I don't know if this is true, but check this out.
Yeah.
But no, it was literally like pop. And I'm thinking, whoa.
But you followed fact checking 101 perfectly, because you should ask the person, like, well, how do you know this is true? Or where does it come from? What's your source? So, and often then when you ask somebody and they're like, oh no, I got it from, I don't even know where it comes from. That should already tell you, or like, should set off warning bells as to the authenticity of this.
You've actually preempted my next question, which is basically what sort of tools that you use at Africa Check, that your staff and your team at Africa Check, what sort of tools and tips can any of us, African citizens, actually global citizens listening to this podcast, use to not fall prey to fake news or alternative facts?
Yeah. Well, the first tip is breathe. Take 2 seconds.
No, I want to share. Musa's got to know this. Musa's got to know this right now.
Concentration camps, because those kind of messages, they elicit like this emotional response, this panic or this disgust or this outrage. And the moment those kind of buttons are triggered for you, you really have to just step back. And I mean, like, take every 30 seconds a child is kidnapped. If you're a parent, you would immediately freak out, go and look for your child.
Where are my kids?
Lock them in the house. Before you've stepped back and tried to think, how many kids would this actually entail, So, just stop for a moment.
Pause.
And think of, how would you know whether it's true. So you can ask the source, or I mean, what's easy is to Google whatever you've received, and oftentimes we've seen like the same kind of myths or rumors circulating around the globe. So something, like we saw in Malaysia, people were sharing that criminals are putting nails in oranges and then putting it on the road, and then you drive through it, which also kind of doesn't make sense because you wouldn't immediately...
That came by me like at least 3 or 4 times. That came through...
That was first used in Malaysia, and then it travels to this country, and then it comes to South Africa. So you may even find that it's been debunked, or come to Africa Check and see if we've written about it before.
So that's something, that's probably not the best way to try and puncture a tire, probably. Is that what you...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, if it's going to stick in, you're going to get it more like it's not going to slash your tires so that you immediately have to stop. So, so sometimes it's also just like a bit of common sense.
Okay.
And then people,
bugger. Got you. Like a year ago, whenever I saw that, I was like, baby. Oh my word.
Yeah, but we also spoke to the police, and they had no such incidences.
We eat oranges here.
Yeah, it's food. It's not like
So what else do you guys do? Because I'm sure, because everyone's got Google, everyone's got everyone can breathe. Everyone can take a moment. Everyone's got Google, but you've got real journals working on these things. My concern is that the average person isn't equipped with like journalistic skills and training. So is this something only Africa Check type level journalists can do, like to seriously debunk a myth or a questionable, information point?
No, people think it's like wizardry, like we're magicians, or we're specially equipped people. It's more like I'm telling you, it's more like just having a bit of a skeptical reflex and just asking, how do I know this is true? And that anybody can do. Anybody can Google. And then you need to turn to trusted sources. So we've also seen lots of like weather warnings, like tropical storm Daneo will be hitting Gauteng tonight, so then you can go to the South African Weather Service, because it's their job. There's actually, it's by law, you can be prosecuted if you knowingly spread like false weather warnings. It's actually in law. Yeah.
I actually did that once. There was a tropical, maybe not tropical storm, but no, wait.
I'm disappointed. I haven't even heard the story, and my heart is sinking.
No, I had a meeting in Cape Town, and there was actually a storm warning, and I thought the guy that I was trying to meet was trying to get out the meeting. So he sent me a message saying, there's a storm coming to Cape Town, and I don't want to put you in any compromise, because I was flying to Cape Town. So I'm like, this guy, why,
homie, please.
So I actually called the weather service, and the weather service were like, there's a storm.
There's definitely not flying to fly.
You know what I mean?
So it's true.
It is true. Yeah. It was true.
So Shay, my bad. I should have given you a bit of a doubt.
Exactly.
See, but you see what I did there?
You skipped it.
I didn't think, but at least I
didn't breathe.
I questioned.
Yeah, but
I didn't breathe.
You forgot to breathe.
So no, basically you did the right thing.
Yeah.
So more people need to do what Musa did in that case.
Yeah.
Before they tweet or pass, distribute to all their WhatsApp groups. And
we spoke about it earlier, and it comes down to that responsibility. Like we now have tools that 20 years ago, only a select few people in the world had, the ability to broadcast, the ability to make, videos. With that comes a bit of a responsibility, and you don't share if you haven't verified it, because people think, but what's the harm? Like maybe I can warn somebody, or I'm not sure if this is true, but rather let me share it.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, that kind of attitude. But as you know, with the algorithms and on social media, even though you may be sharing it like, just passing it on as received, it signals that it's popular, that it's important, that more people need to see it. So, and then it goes viral, and you've helped create that virality.
Yeah, so we need to take the power in our hands, quite literally.
Yeah.
A little more seriously than we typically do.
Yeah.
Because this feels like a toy.
It does,
The
but
mobile phone.
you're almost also like you're also a journalist in that sense. You have the power to publish. So, but we also at Africa Check, so it's kind of like a two-way process. So we do debunking and we do the fact checking, but you can't just outsource your brain to us. So, you know, like
Breathe.
I like how she says it so calmly. Like, do you know, we get this all the time. Like, people just come here and say, "Here's my brain." You know, like, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
So, you know, like so we publish guides and we you know, give out tips. So just the day before yesterday, we did like a really simple step-by-step how to do a reverse image search. So so that people, you know, that they can check, because there were pictures about the Cape Town storm that weren't taken of. Yeah,
They were done in
the storm was real, but the pictures weren't. So, you know, and that is on your toy. It's you just
easy.
Press and hold, and you
Voila.
know can
It's
check
real.
those kind of things. So that's a great thing. We have all this technology also that regular people can use to fact check, to verify, we're not
To run
helpless.
a video through and tell if this is
Yeah.
actually
So,
Cape Town seafront,
yeah.
or was this actually like somewhere in Miami?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like that infamous shark. It's like the most famous shark on the internet because it always pops up when there was a flood.
Yeah.
It's been in Houston. It's been in Cape Town. You must have seen it. It's this guy sitting in a car and then there's like a shark.
There's like a shark next to it. I'm
Yeah.
going to Google him. The famous
I'll
shark. I'm
send
going
it
to
to
Google it. I
you.
haven't seen it. Please send it to me.
Yeah.
Don't trust distribute.
And then I'm going to share it immediately. That's what I'm going to do.
So yeah, if you reverse image search, you would have seen that shark has been like all around the world. So
It's like celebrity shark.
yeah.
So this you bring up a couple of things for me. Let's start with the fact that you talked about the algorithms, that we've got little robots, little sort of software robots deciding how to optimize dissemination of information through the social media sites and tech platforms that we all use every day, from Google to Facebook and all these other things, right? And we all know that these little robots are optimized to create revenue for these companies, who all, to some extent, deny being media companies altogether, and also just claim to be here to make the world
A better place.
A better
Connected.
place. Well connected. Yeah,
It's a low blow, guys. It's a low blow.
on the 12th, on the 12th of April, all of us will gather in Cape Town and sing Kumbaya. The whole world. All of it. And it's not fake news. You heard it here first. So, and all because we're Facebook users. Anyway, so no. But here's my thing about, you know, so the algorithm. So in your view, and in the line of work that you do, what level of responsibility should these major platforms, many of them Silicon Valley giants, should they play in participating in ensuring that we're all consuming the right content? Or is it really all on us as citizens?
No, they definitely need to step up to the plate. How much they should get involved is obviously up for debate. We don't want to stifle free speech. And so Facebook has started this third-party fact-checking, and we're hoping that it will be rolled out to Africa soon, so we can participate. So there is this button that you can, when you see a post, you can flag it as a possible false news story. And then that would get sent to fact checkers to check out, and then it would get a little label like disputed by third-party fact checkers. So
At Facebook or elsewhere?
on Facebook.
So what I mean is the third party, the fact checkers, are they Facebook employees? Or
No,
not?
so we're part of this international fact-checking network. So, and we're verified. So there are 5 principles, and you have to be transparent about your sources, about your funding, about your selection of claims. So there are a couple of things you have to openly correct your own mistakes. So
Have you made some?
Yeah, well, everybody makes mistakes. So then we put it like
And you sort of say,
in bright lights.
we got this wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we want to encourage that in other people. So
Sure.
if we try to hide our mistakes, then other people, we want accurate information out there. So,
What was
so
the
this
fifth one? There was 4, and then the fifth one, you said accurate. You basically your sources and whatever.
Don't embarrass me.
Oh no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No.
Yes.
I should know it. I like off it's the top of my head, but
Yes. But it's okay.
the
But
fifth
it kind of brings me to the other question. The reason I'm asking about the Facebook thing is because Who fact checks
the fact checkers,
and who's to say we can trust you or that association of fact checkers? And again, speaking to something you said earlier, which is I think totally pertinent, which is make sure that it's coming from a reputable source. Like, what's your thinking around like determining that? So, firstly, how do we satisfy ourselves that we should be buying into your fact-checking brand or your...
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust us. You should trust the facts. And we provide like...
I said this on the show. Don't trust anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where the transparency come in. So we link to every single bit of data or source that we use. We don't use anonymous sources. We don't use proprietary data. Everything needs to be public. So the idea is that you can go through our fact check and go to all our sources and verify it for yourself, and then see why we reached the conclusion that we did, and then agree or disagree with it. So again, you can't just now, but Africa checks around, so I don't have to think, I don't have to, use my brain. I'm just going to blindly trust them. No, sorry. You
doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but I mean, we do take great care in our fact checks, and we go, like yesterday, my colleagues actually drove to Nelspruit for the day, there and back to go and do a fact check. So to do a physical fact check. So I mean, we put in the legwork, we do the calls, we try to get the best data, but in the end, we also human, and we sometimes make mistakes, but we take all the care in the world not to make mistakes. And then we have this body that adjudicates like our work. Once a year, we need to get accredited once more. So you can raise a dispute, or if you can prove that we haven't lived up to those principles, you can report us.
And
so
you guys might lose your certification, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I like the other thing you mentioned about the crowd, the fact that the reason I think it's really important that we put your WhatsApp number out there is because I think that's part of the process. I think that's what the internet, I think that's one of the best things the internet engenders, this ability for us to actually participate in ways we couldn't before.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that people make full use of the crowdsourcing opportunity to actually participate, to see this as part of your civic duty as a citizen of your country, of the continent, of the world. Yeah, like if you don't like the mix of topics Africa Check is covering, or Pesa Check, who we've had Musa Kalenga, Eric Mugendi on the show, or any one of the fact checkers out there, if you don't like the job Facebook has started to do elsewhere, how are you personally participating in that process?
Exactly, yeah. Take part. Change the story.
Change the story. And so I think the last thing I wanted to talk about, did you want to say something?
That's fine, yeah.
And so the last thing I want to take advantage of your being here is, Musa and I were talking about, just yesterday, actually, about how even when truth is being peddled, right? And I say peddled because newspapers are here for the public good, we'd like to think, but really there are media organizations trying to make money, and at the end of the day, they are gender driven, and commercial agendas at every sort of media outlet has never been more of a sort of problematic issue than it ever has been. Falling revenue, etc. This ANN7 debacle. If you don't know what's going on with ANN7, one of the sort of 24-hour news channels based in South Africa, the fact that they'll be likely closing down soon, Google that and you'll understand what's going on and what's at stake. And you don't even have to Google that. In every country in the world, this is a problem. Newspapers, all sorts of outlets. But here's the thing. My brother and I crashed my parents' car when we were kids. We were in the 6th grade, or whatever. My brother was in the 7th or something like that. We couldn't drive, didn't have licenses. We thought we'd surprise my mom by reversing the car out of the garage, and she'd find it in the drive going, "Whoa, who did this?" So it didn't work out so well. So all the leading publications in the world could pick this story up as a factual sort of historical account of the as part of like the origin story of this young black African boy named Andile. And they could decide, especially if they discovered that their readers were into it, that this is something we want to punt every week on our front page.
Yeah.
Right? It's factual. It actually happened. But but the agenda driving the dissemination of those facts and the way it's disseminated, the way it's framed, could in fact start to affect me in real ways, like perhaps I'll never get a driver's license, I'll never be allowed to drive in another country, never be allowed a visa to travel to other countries. I might not even get finance for a home if that's what I'm looking for, because that could be like negative impact. So I say all of that to say the role of agenda can't be ignored.
Yeah.
The role of agenda. We at the African Tech Roundup, we're open about the fact that we totally embrace our agenda setting mandate in the context of everything that's either being misstated or oversimplified about the emergence of tech and innovation and how it's being deployed and how it's actually changing lives and how it's impacting our economic or socioeconomic situation on the continent. We're here for that. And we're here, we don't mind being corrected, but we're here to participate. And our agenda is we want Africa to work, and this is going to help do that. So in this fact-checking world, how do you account for that in any way, even in deciding like what's a great source to push people to, what's a reliable source, who can we trust? Like if you get data from, say, KPMG or PwC and all these surveys that tell you so many % of this and so much penetration, how much of all of that do you factor into like deciding who we can trust?
Sure. Welcome to my daily job.
Yeah.
Again, you have to question every source. And lots of time, I mean, no data is perfect. You can't have absolute like a certainty. You have statistical analysis, confidence intervals, all those kind of things. So I think what you touched on is important. It's that transparency and setting out the limitations to what you know. And so we try to, when we fact check, to explain to you exactly how that data was gathered, what the possible gaps in it would be, so that it's not a case of us insisting that this is 100%, you should trust it, it's perfect, but to make you aware that, because, especially in Africa, there are data gaps. Surveys aren't done that regularly,
or rigorously.
Or rigorously. So we have to make do with what's out there, and at least if you acknowledge the gaps and what isn't accounted for, you already help somebody along the way to understanding a problem.
Well put. Thank you, Amin. Anim. We've got a very good friend of the show, Amin, at Afrobytes Paris. So I keep mixing your names up. So if I said Amin several times in this episode, please forgive me, folks. All right, man. Well, listen, I'm going to thank you in a minute, but I must thank Africa Tech Summit Kigali one last time for sponsoring this episode of the African Tech Roundup. It's happening, folks, in Rwanda on the 14th and 15th of February. We're there, man. We can't wait.
Via Paris?
I'm not flying via Paris, thankfully. Kigali is turning into a bit of a hub for the region, so thankfully. Oh my word. Oh yeah. So the part of the reason we skipped, and at this point we're glad we skipped the EU startup fair for many other reasons, which we won't go into now. But we there was a chance we were going to attend, and then realized we needed to take 5 days off to get into Abidjan. In and out of Abidjan, so I mean that was just ridiculous for like one day.
And you had to get a visa.
And the visa and everything. So we didn't attend, but that's just another example of why we're really grateful. Kigali is not so. Certainly it's happening on the 14th, the 15th of February. We look forward to seeing you guys there. It's an awesome conference and an opportunity to connect with over 250 tech and innovation ecosystem players from across the continent and beyond. We're media partners, as we mentioned before. We'll be facilitating discussions on stage and off stage as well. So we look forward to seeing you there. Book yourself a seat by heading straight to africatechsummit.com. That's africatechsummit.com. And again, if you're in Kigali early, as in the day before, a bunch of us will be in the Marriott Kigali Iriba Bar, which is actually in the same hotel that's hosting the event. So if you're in the area and you're there early, come and join us for drinks and have a chat. Between around 4:30 and 6 p.m. We'll be out there, and look forward to seeing you there. But now it's time for me to thank our guest for the day, Anim van Wyk of Africa Check, africacheck.org. Check them out, participate. We can't punt enough the importance of the work they do. And like she said, this isn't about us like putting them on a pedestal as people who are somehow infallible or hyper trustworthy. We couldn't possibly trust them to that extent. And that's because we all have a role to play in making sure that the content and the information we consume is to the right sort of standard of truth and decency and accuracy and all the other good things that we look for in good information. And so, yeah, but I must thank you for being here, Anim. We need to do this again.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the homie Musa. In the discussion, you were a bit quiet. Musa's had an exhausting week. Press launches, like interviews and stuff. Congrats, my friend. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I couldn't be more glad that the hard work you put into being a good person and to being a great entrepreneur is starting to pay off, and people are starting to see what I see, because they hear me like punch you and they think, oh please, this guy is paid he's paid to make Musa sound amazing because he needed a co-host and stuff, and he's my age mate, but he's also a mentor. That's straight up and down, because you're really that still.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
So yeah, all more power to you, buddy.
Thank you.
And more power to you, Africa, and the rest of the world. All of you who listen, join us again. But until next time, do take care.